weeks from Election Day, and so many people early voting. And we're going to talk about that here in a minute. But first, before we get to that, we're going to break down some of the top stories that we're following here tonight.
Vice President Kamala Harris headlining a campaign rally in Atlanta tomorrow. Superstar Usher joining her on the trail. Former President Donald Trump back in Detroit tonight, fighting for votes in battleground Michigan. Georgia early voting total surged past 1 million.
We're going to do what we have to do to get justice for John.
The family of a slain veteran fighting back in DeKalb County, demanding charges for the officer who fatally shot their son. An unusual surge of walking pneumonia reported in kids aged 2 to 4. The Atlanta-based CDC tracking the trend to see what's causing the infection. Homecoming season kicks off at the Atlanta University Center. An exciting weekend full of celebration, unity, and Panther pride ahead at Clark Atlanta. Larger-than-life floats and mind-bending costumes. The legendary Little Five Points Halloween Parade returns this weekend. The Georgia Bulldogs in a conference-defining matchup. UGA takes on Texas tomorrow night in Austin.
And those are some of your top stories that we're following here tonight. I don't know about that last one, that story. UGA playing Texas this weekend. That's going to be quite a game. I don't have really a dog in the fight. Would like to see Georgia win. I'm a Buckeyes fan, so my team's off this weekend, so we're okay. But that Texas team, pretty good. We'll see what happens there. Anyway, I digress. You know, one of the stories we were talking about, the early voting, it began early this week on Tuesday. Across the state, early voting began, and some of you probably took part in that. In fact, looking at some of the numbers today, already more than 1 million people have taken part in early voting and getting their ballots cast all across the state. But now there's some concerns about the mail-in ballots and how they could be treated by the Postal Service. Georgians really having some of these growing concerns about the postal delays we've been talking about in the news over the last few months, that could lead to some voting problems. And this is something our Doug Reardon looked into today as we talk about early voting. We talk about these mail-in ballots, and here's some of what he found out today.
Bring in some consternation.
When voter Rebecca Flynn came here to Gardner Library to drop off her absentee ballot this week,
there was no drop box. It wasn't in the same location.
the place she left her ballot in 2020 was gone. It was the casualty of new legislation passed in 2021 that cut down on the number of drop boxes in Georgia and moved them inside.
The closest one was in Buckhead, and it was 25 minutes away.
Poll workers were nice enough to tell Flynn she could always mail it with USPS, but
I asked if they'd recommend that, and they said, it's up to you, but I wouldn't do it.
with the post office experiencing delays, especially in Georgia, lawmakers and post office officials have been warning for months that ballot delays were a real possibility.
With something so important as my vote, I don't want anything to happen to it, so I didn't want to take any chances.
If you drop it into the mail now, there's a middleman introduced into the process.
The DeKalb County Board of Elections and their vice chair, Vasu Abhiraman, are cutting out that middleman, whether it be the Postal Service or ballot drop boxes. Last week, they approved a program that will let absentee voters drop off their ballots directly to poll workers at any early voting precinct, whether or not it has a drop box.
That means the next person that's going to touch your ballot is not the United States Postal Service. It's somebody with our elections office, so you can be confident that your vote's going to count.
And that report from Doug Reardon here tonight, and that's something we continue to look at as we get closer to Election Day here on November 5th. And so there'll certainly be a lot of focus on what's happening with early voting next week. In fact, early voting wraps up November 1st, so you have that window up until November 1st to do the early voting, and then Election Day, of course, on November 5th. We'll be hearing more from the candidates as they swing through Georgia this weekend. And that's something we'll be following and updating tonight in our 10, 11 o'clock newscasts this evening. So we'll have more on that. Now I want to shift gears and talk about what's happening outside because it's been so nice. The mornings have been chilly. You know, I've enjoyed it. I thought it's been nice. But I know some people thought it's been really cold. I'm going to bring in meteorologist Patrick Pete. And Patrick, it's funny, my kids, they're always kind of the barometer on some of this, because they want to go outside and they don't think they need a jacket. They think, oh, we live in Atlanta now. We don't have to. It's always hot. It's always warm.
No. We get a little chill
It's
here.
nice, we've lived in Boston, D.C. So,
yeah, so the Boston winters is definitely a different feel. So they're acclimated, but
yeah,
after a whole summer of warm, humid conditions, it's trending a little bit cooler. and everybody's grabbing that jacket.
I love this time of year.
Yeah, I
think
love it too.
It's great. I love you get a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
my favorite time of the year for sure. Cooler
great.
mornings, the afternoons are pleasant enough for you to go running with shorts outside. Really, just a gorgeous setup
I'll jump out here and let you
across
do
the
your thing.
area. Yeah, let me switch.
With
you know.
your fancy tie.
Yeah, try to do a little something. Yeah. Good evening, everybody. Yeah, nice little hiatus from the desk, but I am back, and we're gonna dive into the forecast real quick. I just need to do two things. A little out of practice. Well, we'll try again. We'll be with you in about 20 seconds. Yeah, let me say hello to everybody that's joining us on YouTube. Y'all are quiet tonight. I'm going to let that ride because it's Friday. I get it. And we're just going to dive in. We're going to jump into it. I was trying to switch. One more thing. 15 seconds. 15 seconds. And then we are there. There we go. Good evening. It's like I switched to the wrong computer. Let's try one more. There we go. It is amazing outside right now. Temperatures are in the low 60s. We are dealing with mostly clear skies, and we're also we're tracking a light breeze, roughly 5-10 miles per hour out across the region, and that is making it feel a little bit chilly. So if you're stepping out, have the jacket, but otherwise not a bad evening to get out and about. We got that camera adjusted and the lighting adjusted, so let's get into the forecast. It's going to trend cooler as we head through the overnight hours. If you're planning on leaving the house within the next hour or so, and you're going to be out and about in the streets, make sure you have on some sleeves because it's going to get chilly. Whether that's a light jacket or a nice sweater. Upper 40s for the overnight low here in Atlanta. A little bit cooler in the suburbs, low 40s for some folks, and even some upper 30s at higher elevations. So expect for it to be cooler, not as cold as some of these other nights have been, but you know what I'm talking about. And as far as rain is concerned, there's just really not any to talk about. This is going to be a green light to have the tops off of the Jeep, not only for the weekend, but into next week, as it's going to be pleasant. As long as you're okay with that chill in the morning. All of my Jeep drivers, y'all know what I'm talking about. That chill in the morning where, you know, without the top and the doors off, you're relying on that seat to keep you warm, the seat warmers. I'm not going to get into that, but if that's your thing, this is going to be a good stretch of weather where things are just nice and dry. We'll be tracking mostly sunny skies. A couple of high clouds will trickle through late afternoon into the early evening, but that's not going to stop the warm-up. The numbers take a little bit of a time to get into the 70s, but I think we get there. If any of you are taking the kids to the park tomorrow, I don't need to tell you that 9 o'clock isn't the best time, but it's not. The better time will be sometime after 12. Temperatures get into the upper 60s, and we flirt with the low 70s for a couple of hours before those numbers start to trend a little bit cooler. The weekend warms as we head towards Sunday. Afternoon temperatures climb to the mid to upper 70s area wide, and we're going to keep that energy going as we head into your Monday. I think the afternoons are going to be pretty much picture perfect for this time of year. The mornings a little bit chilly, but they're going to gradually improve as we head through the weekend and into the beginning of next week, and eventually we'll start off the morning in the low to mid 50s as we approach Tuesday into Wednesday. Dry stretch of weather, no first alert weather days. I always tell y'all that I'm going to keep y'all for a good time, not a long time. I am going to throw this 7-day up full screen so that you guys can get what you need from it, but it's a nice stretch of weather. Of course, we are keeping an eye on the tropics. There is an area of low pressure that we're watching very closely in the Caribbean, and if you want more information on that, me and meteorologist Cutter Martin will be breaking down some of the latest model data tonight on Peachtree TV at 10 and then again on Atlanta News First at 11. Y'all have a fantastic evening. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe.